We have come to the end of the first day of questioning of the Undercover Police Manager, Detective Chief Inspector Keith Edmondson, at the Undercover Policing Inquiry. He has faced further questions this afternoon about his role in the unit and the fact that he seemed to be completely absent at the wheel. There were questions about the trip to Amsterdam, which he clearly was only one of. There was further questions, intervention from John Mitting about his contradictory answers around the tradecraft manual and whether he read it or not. In his written statement, he's absolutely positive that he definitely didn't read it. Today, he said that he must have done because he was a manager, and it was one of the very few things he had to do was read any new documents that they created, and it was created on his watch. So he must have done, but I mean, I think within that, he really betrayed the fact that, no, he didn't bloody do it because he wasn't bloody doing anything. I'm joined by Evelyn Lubbers of the Undercover Research Group. What did you make of what he said?
Well, what can I say? More of the same. I think it was Mitting was putting it very politely to him, as Mitting always is, that he was lying. Or
yes.
Like he's doing this Mitting thing. Like, can only be 1, you read it. 2, you didn't read it. 3, you don't remember you read it.
Well, no, the third one was that you read it, but you didn't take it in.
Yeah, take it in.
Which
I
think was being very charitable. And if to be honest, if I'd been Keith Edmondson in this position, I would have just gone for option 3 because it's the only one that explains the situation.
But of course he didn't. He went into word spaghetti, and I can't recall what the answer was exactly.
He said, it's very difficult for me today, sir. Of course, I can be absolutely sure that I don't remember reading it, but of course,
that's what he did.
It would have been a complete failure if I hadn't have done it. Of course, it was my job to read such things, and as manager, I would have read everything.
Well, I think the easiest summary of today is that he didn't do shit. He didn't do shit, and he's lying through his teeth, making word spaghetti or just contradicting himself. Well, for me, coming from Amsterdam, the Amsterdam trip was very interesting because...
Have you ever taken a coffee?
He was trying to explain the difference between coffee shops and coffee shops, one with a K and one with a C, where the ones with a K where you would get coffee.
No. K with the K was cannabis, with the C was coffee.
Well, even if that were true, coffee in Dutch is written with a K, so it would have been more likely if that difference existed. That was the way. But I can assure you, coffee shops are in the center of Amsterdam is where you get cannabis, and nothing else, or maybe coffee, but. And then the other thing was that, he was trying to talk his way out of the red light district visit, where we've had many testimonies about before. Of course, there was no sex involved, no visits to windows with nice ladies behind it. And he was trying to warm himself out of it by explaining that him and a few others went to the Anne Frank house, which is very near to the red light district. Maybe for London, for London distances, that is near, but for Dutch and Amsterdam, like thinking it's at the other side of the center. It's nowhere near the red light district. So there was lies covered up with lies. He really makes you sick listening to him.
I mean, he was suggesting that they only went to Amsterdam just to get away. I mean, they could have gone anywhere. They could have gone to Bruges.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is, they went to Amsterdam.
It's like has something to do, maybe
slightly,
with the red light district and cannabis.
Yeah.
Well, that's why all English come to Amsterdam. That is a big issue in Amsterdam, but it's not a story.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was very, very evasive, and I mean, as he has been for the majority of the day, he was in the right mood being asked about this. I mean, it was pointed out to him that had Peter Francis not mentioned the fact that there was an SDS trip to Amsterdam, it wouldn't have come up. And he went, well, no one's asking about the whitewater rafting we went on either.
Yeah, and hiking. We went hiking, and
Very wholesome behaviours, obviously.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. No, but if there's one thing clear to sum up this day, there was like haven't heard, haven't asked, haven't, like really, like I said before, what does a manager do all day at the office, sitting with Bob Lambert, who was on the phone with the undercovers all the time. He did not hear anything. He did not anything about sexual relations. I think all but one of his undercovers had. It's like it's so tiring to listen to, really.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating. I mean, apart from his inadvertent partridgeisms, Alan Partridge, which are quite amusing occasionally. I mean, we haven't got a lot of. There's not much we can tell you really of things we've learned today. I wouldn't have said. I think, like John Webb on Thursday, with a lot of criticisms of what he had to say, but when he said that Keith Edmondson was naive and prone to acting surprised for things that he already should have known about, he had his number. Absolutely had his number.
Yeah.
He was absolutely. He was asked about racism and the Stephen Lawrence Justice Campaign and the infiltration by SDS officers into that. His answers to that were absolutely laughable. He claimed that the Lawrence family was sacrosanct, and even though he said that, oh yes, there was the approach to evidence gathering by undercover officers was to hoover up everything, put it in the reports. They would have never done that to the Lawrence family because they were different. The Lawrence family were different. They weren't activists. And then he had to, you could see on his face that he'd remembered. Oh yeah, there were reports about the Lawrence family, and he's just backtracking mid-sentence. As I said before, he contradicted himself so quickly, so often.
Yeah, and also he tried to make a difference between the Lawrence family and the Lawrence family campaign, which wasn't. That was the Lawrence family, so there was no difference between it. What he tried to say but didn't phrase very well was that there was a fear that other groups were trying to hijack that campaign, but it never succeeded. But he couldn't even sort of explain that, or he didn't remember, or I like the way Sarah Hemingway brought up the topics and do you remember the murder of Stephen Lawrence? Or happened?
I mean, he referred to it as an incident, which of course he'd heard of because it was in the national news. He then said that there was never any discussions amongst the police, whether he was in the CE squad or in the SDS, about the murder. Yet moments later, he was saying that there was a lot of concern in police quarters about the investigation into the murder. I mean, he just contradicted himself.
So, well, when he was the one moment he was very clear was when he talked about Peter Francis.
Oh, that man!
And I think he really, with a raised voice, called him a liar.
Yes.
And that was Peter Francis in the room. I haven't seen his face.
Well, I spoke to him just as we were leaving, and he turned to me and he said, "Do you think he doesn't like me? Do you get the impression? He might not like me?" He said, "I got to go now. I'm going to go and take a coffee."
It's very funny sometimes. No, but that kind of shows or reveals again that he's as angry as other managers that the SDS got exposed, and Peter Francis is the one person guilty of that, or the one former, or former member of the SDS family, as he calls it.
Yeah, the SDS family.
Who spilled the beans. And I think that is the hidden anger there. It's like, it should have been, he hasn't said it, but it should have never been exposed. And all the trouble we're in now, it's not even because of the women who found out, because women are sort of a lesser form of life for him, but Peter Francis was one of us, and he spilled the beans. That is so important to him.
Yeah, no, the real vitriol towards Peter Francis. He was asked about. He said some quite shocking things actually. He was asked about Jim Boyling, and there was a whole section where he was being asked about this idea that the spouses were like an anchor for the undercover officers, but there was obviously some of the officers it was slightly different. So in the case of Jim Boyling, his wife left him 1 year into his deployment, and he was asked when he found this out. We were shown the file note where they had the meeting where Peter Francis,
like 18 months later.
Yeah. Where Jim Boyling explains senior management. His wife's left him, and it was decided to keep him in because he was doing such excellent work that it would be wrong to take him out of the field. And then he says that when he heard many years later, supposedly 10 years after he retired, that Jim Boyling's what had happened, he said he felt very, very, very sad for Jim Boyling. And that that he really wants to apologise to Jim Boyling. It was pointed out by Sarah Hemingway and the women that he deceived. Oh well, them as well. But it was very clear. I mean, very similarly about HM1. He said when he found out that HM1 had deceived Liz Fuller into a relationship, he felt very, very sad for HM1 and for HM1's wife.
Yeah, because they came to dinner to his house. They were family friends, so that's why he felt so sorry.
Yeah, but it was very clear that he had no sympathy whatsoever for the women who'd been deceived.
No, and it's like he kind of turns it around. Like when he talked about Boiling, who who was found by one of the women, Rosa, who he had been in a relationship with, and who he subsequently married and who had 2 children with, and that all ended in a very nasty way. He kept saying that he was sorry for Boiling and that what happened to him, as if Boiling had no agency in starting relationships while on the cover and continuing the relationship after he was found out. Like it all happened to him, which kind of makes the women, the perpetrators.
Yeah, it's very clear that the men who perpetuated the abuse were in fact the victims. I mean, it was already said this morning. He said that he didn't recognise it as abuse. It was put to him, for example, that what was in the tradecraft manual. So John Mitting said it's disgraceful, isn't it? And he went, well, it's wrong. But he couldn't bring himself to admit that it was disgraceful.
Yeah, there were several moments where he was given the opportunity to admit that things were misogynist or disgraceful or whatever, and he just couldn't bring himself to it. And that makes it so difficult to listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to note that the only senior manager that he criticised was Jeanette Williams, who was head of Special Branch when he was there.
And a woman.
Yeah, so the only member of the management he was willing to criticise was Jeanette Williams, who was head of the Special Branch while he was there, which he put in his written statement. Now, what I found really strange was that he had to explain that the thing that he was annoyed with her about had happened many years later. It was nothing to do, and it was like, why have you included this then? He claims that many years later, whilst a civil servant working as assistant commissioner to dock security, port security rather, he went to a meeting with her and she said, "Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions." And he said this really angered him, and that there was something like particularly annoying about this, but it wasn't when she was actually as head of the Special Branch. It was pointed out that also another officer, HN88, I believe, had also criticised Jeanette Williams, and he was asked by Sarah Hemingway, was this a sign of this is the only senior manager who has been singled out for any criticism by any of the undercover officers? Is this a sign of misogyny? And he goes, oh no, not at all. There was no misogyny. He said when he joined the police force, women were almost a separate police force, but when he got into Special Branch, that was completely different. There was no misogyny in Special Branch.
And hardly any women, so that's quite easy.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, there's not a lot else to really talk about.
No, I feel I'm going to repeat myself if we
Please
continue.
Don't. Yeah. And I think we've got another full day. There's lots of unexplored areas. We've seen in the past that officers who are making a right hash of it tend to change their tune when there's been a break. So we wonder if there'll be a slightly different version of Keith Edmondson who comes in tomorrow. I kind of doubt it. I kind of get the impression that he's not really in control of his emotions enough to actually change his approach, but we will see.
He might slip something when he gets pressed and gets more angry.
I mean, like if getting more angry, I think he would actually blow up, because he has been visibly shaking on a number of occasions with rage, which he is not doing a good job of keeping control of.
No, it's worrying.
I mean, I would say it's great, quite frankly. Let's see them get annoyed. All right, thanks for joining us. Sorry, it's a short one at the end of today. Please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff with these videos. There is no media here at this event. There has been, this entire phase has not been covered by any media body whatsoever, whether alternative media or mainstream media. All you've got is the very, very partisan voices that we are providing to you on this platform. So please help us share those. If you'd like to get involved, you can come along to the hearings. As long as you bring ID, they'll let you in. There's plenty of space in the public gallery. I'm afraid we've had the same people on the videos today because there's not enough other people in the public gallery. So please do come along if you can.
Very good air conditioning here. And as it's going to be 38 degrees here in London tomorrow, why not hide from the heat over here and hear something interesting?
Well, yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.